Welcome back, Forgotten Crimes fans. Today we are delving into the terrifying and prolific case of Pedro Alonso López, also known as the Monster of the Andes. López's reign of terror across multiple countries in South America makes him one of the most notorious and prolific serial killers in history, with his crimes leaving a trail of horror and devastation. Pedro Alonso López was born on October 8, 1948, in Santa Isabel, Colombia. His early life was marked by poverty, neglect, and violence. López was the seventh of 13 children born to a prostitute mother. He was exposed to her sexual activities and abuse at a young age, which had a profound impact on his development. When López was 8, his mother caught him fondling his younger sister and threw him out of the house. This event marked the beginning of his life on the streets, where he experienced further abuse and hardship. López was picked up by a pedophile and repeatedly sexually assaulted, leading him to flee and join a group of street children. By the age of 12, he was taken in by an American family who enrolled him in a school for orphans. However, López ran away after being molested by a male teacher. He continued his life of petty crime and survival on the streets, eventually being imprisoned for car theft in 1969. During his incarceration, López claimed he was brutally gang-raped by fellow inmates. In response, he killed 3 of his attackers. The prison authorities ruled these killings as self-defense, and López received no additional punishment. This period in prison further hardened him and fueled his growing anger and resentment. Upon his release, López began his killing spree, targeting young girls. He traveled across Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador, luring girls aged between 8 and 12 with promises of gifts or employment. Once he had them in his grasp, López would rape and strangle them, often dumping their bodies in shallow graves. His methodical approach and ability to evade capture for years made him a highly dangerous predator. López's reign of terror came to an end in 1980 when he was captured by local villagers in Ecuador while attempting to abduct a young girl. He was handed over to the police, and during his interrogation, López shocked authorities by confessing to the murders of over 300 young girls across Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. His detailed confessions led police to mass graves where the remains of many of his victims were found. López's trial and subsequent imprisonment were complex due to the sheer number of his crimes and the cross-border nature of his activities. In Ecuador, he was convicted of 110 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment. However, Ecuadorian law at the time had a maximum penalty of 16 years for murder, meaning López would not remain behind bars indefinitely. In 1994, after serving 14 years, López was released from prison for good behavior and deported to Colombia. This release caused outrage and fear among the public, given the extent and brutality of his crimes. López was subsequently arrested in Colombia and held in a psychiatric facility but was released again in 1998 under unclear circumstances. His whereabouts have been unknown since his release, sparking fears that he could continue his killing spree. The impact of López's crimes on the victims' families and the communities in which he operated was devastating. The sheer scale of his killing spree and the vulnerability of his victims left a lasting scar on the nations affected. López's ability to move across borders and exploit weaknesses in law enforcement highlighted significant challenges in the international handling of serial killers. López's case underscores the importance of international cooperation in addressing and preventing such heinous crimes. The failure to adequately track and monitor López after his initial release demonstrated a critical gap in the criminal justice systems of the countries involved. This case prompted discussions about the need for better communication and coordination among international law enforcement agencies to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The legacy of Pedro Alonso López serves as a stark reminder of the capacity for human cruelty and the devastating impact of untreated mental illness and unchecked violent fantasies. His story continues to be a subject of fascination and study for criminologists, psychologists, and law enforcement professionals, providing valuable insights into the nature of serial killers and the complexities of criminal behavior. López's background and early life provide some insight into the development of his disturbing behaviors. His experiences of abuse and neglect in his formative years likely played a significant role in shaping his violent tendencies. The profound impact of his traumatic childhood, combined with his experiences of sexual violence and survival on the streets, created a dangerous combination that ultimately led to his horrific actions. Throughout his criminal activities, López exhibited a meticulous and chillingly methodical approach to his murders. He often targeted vulnerable young girls, using his charm and deceit to lure them into a false sense of security. Once in his control, his victims were subjected to horrific violence, with López seeking to assert complete dominance over them. His ability to evade capture for so long speaks to his cunning and manipulative nature. López's capture and trial were a turning point in the public's understanding of the depths of human depravity. The detailed confessions and evidence presented were both horrifying and illuminating, offering a rare glimpse into the mind of a prolific serial killer. The trial itself was a media spectacle, drawing widespread attention and leading to significant public discourse on the issues of criminal psychology, law enforcement, and the media's role in such cases. The legacy of Pedro Alonso López's crimes extends beyond the immediate horror of his actions. It has led to important changes in how law enforcement and society at large approach issues of serial killers, mental health, and the treatment of individuals with severe psychological disturbances. The failures that allowed López to continue his killing spree for so long have prompted reforms aimed at preventing similar tragedies in the future. The Pedro Alonso López case also highlights the complex nature of criminal pathology and the interplay between environmental and psychological factors in the development of violent behavior. While López's actions were undoubtedly monstrous, understanding the factors that contributed to his crimes is essential in developing effective prevention and intervention strategies. In reflecting on the life and crimes of Pedro Alonso López, it is crucial to remember the victims and the suffering caused by his actions. The random and senseless nature of his violence shattered the lives of many families and left communities grappling with the aftermath of unimaginable horror. While López himself has become a symbol of evil, the true tragedy lies in the innocent lives that were lost and the enduring pain of those who survived. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Forgotten Crimes. We love diving into the world of true crime, exploring the stories that grip the world and uncovering the details that make these cases so fascinating. If there's a case you're curious about or if you have any thoughts to share, let us know. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive and remember, the world of crime is as complex as it is captivating.